Okay. Hi, I hope everybody's healthy and safe and taken care of. I was going to talk today about how we are living our life in lockdown. Somebody asked me actually in my comments yesterday, like, what's it like over here? Because I think they were in Vegas and said it's pretty much normal life. So, going to talk about that. Obviously, so I live in the greater New Orleans area. Um, I grew up in the greater New Orleans area, but in a different area, like down south more. And we moved here in 2016. So it's a little more rural, it's a little more north. In fact, we're on what they call the North Shore. So we are a little bit more removed. I think that I grew up probably about 15 miles from like the center of New Orleans. And now I'm probably about 50 miles, give or take a couple. So it is a little different here. For the most part, I think early on, so my family in particular, so I'll talk to you about how my family is handling the lockdown. I think that I interchangeably called what was going on lockdown and quarantine. So I did want to like mention that we are not quarantined. I believe that quarantine is when you are like you have been exposed for sure, or you are sick, so they quarantine you, right? Or when you've traveled, they ask that you go into a mandatory 14-day quarantine. This is a little bit different because I believe that quarantine basically means stay where you are. You cannot do essential item like other than going to get medical help. You can't go anywhere, right? We're under a lockdown. The lockdown is still open for essential business, and pretty much what that means for like the individual person is that it's up to you to behave yourself and to actually only do essential things. And they list that as pharmacies, grocery stores, and doctors. And then because I am in a rural area, and I would assume that they are doing this anywhere where this could be something that's going on, but a lot of livestock and farm animals are around here, so feed stores where you would get, hay or feed for your farm type animals are also essential businesses. Now, within that, there's a lot of businesses still open. I think they're kind of leaving it up to the business to determine whether or not it is essential right now. And I think that the businesses, for the most part, are like, okay, let's fly under the radar and stay essential until somebody tells us we're not, right? So there is still a lot of things that are open. Of course, restaurants and bars are not open, but restaurants are. They are only pickup or like dine out issue, and drive-throughs are open. So that being said, that's how my area is. My family in particular, so I was watching this kind of go on and reading about it at the end of last year, and in January, it was kind of on my radar, understanding that we need to get ahead. In my last video, I mentioned deciding to grocery shop instead of pay, like do extra grocery shopping instead of paying a car note for a minute. And I did that earlier in March. So in March, knowing that things were going to start to kind of get weird, I think that the 9th was when the first case hit New Orleans. So it's kind of important to mention that New Orleans had Mardi Gras, like this area had Mardi Gras on the 25th of February. So on the 25th of February, things were still acting completely normal. People were partying, everything was just going on, like parades and closeness and everything else. Now, this is a sickness that takes what? A couple of days to 2 weeks to show up. And by March 9th, New Orleans had its first known case. At that point, being 50 something miles away, I was like, oh shit. Like it went from being like, theoretically we need to prepare, buy like 2 or 3 things extra every grocery store trip, to okay, wait, we need to like pick things up, right? So I did not hoard. I want to make sure you understand that. I think there's a difference between going crazy and just having extra items, more shelf stable items. We are very paycheck to paycheck. I've mentioned that before. So, you know, sometimes things get really low and that next paycheck comes. So I was like, okay, no, we've got to get a little bit ahead here. So that being said, it was March 9th that I placed my a little larger, probably about, it was like a normal grocery order, like as far as fresh items and things that would be in the like refrigerator or freezer or, you know, produce, plus about an extra week's worth of dry foods, and stuff like that. Okay. That was March 9th. I picked that up on March 13th. On March 10th, I took my oldest daughter. She is being extremely productive. I don't have anything against anybody being productive during this time. I think it's fantastic if you can be. I just wanted to point out in that other video that to act like your privilege doesn't set you up to be more successful in this moment of being locked at home, having a big, beautiful home, having a fully equipped gym, having a fully stocked pantry and fridge, you know, all of those things are privileges that allow certain people to have more security in this time than others. And then when those people say stuff like, if you're not bettering yourself, then you just lack self-discipline, it's just kind of a gross thing. That's all I was trying to say. I am happy for people who are productive. I just don't think that it's healthy mentally for people to be pushing that on other people. That's all that was. Anyway, but my oldest daughter, knowing that we were not going to be going to any of our normal meetups and everything else, she had Christmas money left, and she is actually an artist like her mother, and she is trying to create and sell items. So she was like, I want some materials so I can work through this time. And she has been. So that's what she's doing. So on the 10th, we went and we got a bunch of stuff from Michael's, the craft store, so that she could continue to work. That Friday, we had a kid thing, like a schedule for the kids. And I was talking to a friend and I was like, I don't think we're doing it. Like, I'm not really comfortable. And she was like, well, if you don't, I'm not. And literally, as I was typing the message in the group to let them know that we weren't coming, it was canceled. The next Monday was the 16th, and my oldest daughter, again, had a dentist appointment. And it was an essential dentist appointment, not like a cleaning. It was actually to address an infected tooth. So we did keep that appointment after I talked with a friend of mine who was a nurse. We decided that the risk of not going to that appointment and making it, like, if that tooth would get reinfected in 2 or 3 weeks when things would obviously be worse as far as cases go, that it wasn't worth that risk. We needed to go. So we did. That is the last time either one of my kids have left this house. So they have been locked down. I have some friends who are taking their kids with them to Walmart or to the grocery store. We are absolutely not. Our kids are 100% locked down. They're not leaving the land that we live on, right? I have been to the grocery store 3 times and to Tractor Supply to get the needed items for the goats and for the guinea pig 1 time. All of those trips, I wore a mask and stayed in my car. Like, I had the mask in case I had to interact with somebody. I rolled down my window, but I stayed in the car. And I arranged for curbside pickup. Let me tell you something. I 100% want to say that is an amazing, amazing service. And I am so grateful. Like, we are all and should be grateful for our healthcare workers and our doctors and our nurses. We need to go well beyond and give a shout out to all of the people still working in grocery stores, to the people who are putting the orders together for curbside pickup. All of these businesses right now are converting to like contactless pickup. That's amazing. And it's for our benefit. It's also for theirs so they can keep making money. But also, I just think it needs to highlight that just like people are like, doctors didn't sign up for this and nurses didn't sign up for this, That's absolutely true. Nobody knew this was going to happen. But that 20-year-old child who is still working at Walmart picking groceries and making it to where we don't have to go in and we can just roll up and get everything put in the back of our car, they did not sign up for this. So I've been going above and beyond as far as tipping, because I feel like even though they're like, you're not supposed to tip them. Well, guess what? Getting a good tip, because the reality is that I am so grateful for those people who are not maybe getting the same recognition, but are absolutely critical in keeping our society going and keeping us all safe. That being said, so that's how I'm grocery shopping. Now, as far as lockdown here, I have not gone anywhere extra. I do not order food or pick up food. I'm not picking up things through drive-thrus, cooking everything here. My wife is still considered essential. She is in an industry that is, I guess, infrastructure is what they call it. So she does still work. And thankfully, most of that work has been based pretty close by in a parish right next to us. And she has occasionally been sent into New Orleans, which makes me so crazy, but you know, she's keeping herself safe. She's wearing a mask. She is keeping her distance, locking doors whenever so that nobody can walk in on her, making sure she's keeping more than 6 feet from people, wearing her protective gear. She's washing her hands constantly, and she's cleaning her shoes. Before she gets in her truck, she wipes down the bottom of her shoes, and then so actually she wears it's a pair of Crocs. So she wears Crocs in her truck to work, goes in and puts on her boots that she has to wear for work, and then changes back into her Crocs, wipes the bottom of them, gets in her truck, drives home, and then leaves those Crocs outside. So we are doing everything we can to minimize any kind of risk to come onto this land, and into this house. That is kind of how we are handling lockdown. And really, I think some people are like, that's so much. Like, that's so overkill. Oh, I get overkill about this a lot too. So with groceries and stuff, after we pick them up, we have a building that we call the art studio. It's never been an art studio yet, but that's what we call it. And when we first moved here, we were paying a lot of storage. So moving was a process. But when we first moved here, we were paying a lot of storage. And nearby, a guy was selling a building, like a shed, basically. But it's like, he had taken the time to, like, it's not 100% like weatherproof, but it is more than a shed is. So it's a building. It's a little building. It's like 10 by 12, 10, something like that. It's small. But anyway, so we made the decision that we would buy that building. He was like getting rid of it for so cheap. That we would buy the building and then move out of our storage and into the building, because it would basically pay for itself. So basically, we paid storage in that building. And that way, when we were finally moved in, instead of having just wasted money go to storage, we had bought ourselves a building, if that makes sense. Great. So got the building. It was supposed to be an art studio once we were all moved in. It was storage for forever. And then it was, it became like an animal care facility when like the kittens that we rescued came in, and when other animals have been fostered and puppies have lived in there, and sick animals, the goat was in there when she was sick. Like, there's guinea pigs that are rescued that live in there. It's been a lot. And on top of that, it's been storage this whole time. Well, now we finally kind of got it. I was like, that's it. No more rescue animals in this building. We are going to make art in here. And now it's a quarantine building. So, when we grocery shop again, and let me just say, I feel extremely privileged to have a building to put groceries in. Anything that's cold and needs to be refrigerated comes into the house. First, it gets washed. I wash it all down. Anything that can come out. So if anything that's in a package where it's also packaged on the inside, I open it up, pour it into a box so that it's never touching the package that anybody else touched, and it goes inside. Anything that's in its package and can't be taken out gets washed and then brought inside and put into the refrigerator or the freezer. Everything else that is shelf stable goes into the art studio and it sits for 72 hours and then it's brought into the house. So again, a lot of people are like, that's so overkill. At this point, I feel like I would much rather be overdoing something than underdoing something. In fact, today I have a sore throat. I truly believe is, it's not really a sore throat. Like back here, it's kind of up there, like up in the back. And I think it's allergies. I deal with, allergies terribly throughout the summer down here. So all of this is all kind of weird but I'm like, okay, everything's been washed and we are so careful. This has got to be just allergies. There's no fever. There's no cough. It's literally just like a bit of post-nasal drip in my throat. But what I'm trying to say is the fact that we are as careful as we are allows me to be a lot more calm about the fact that my throat hurts a little bit. Know what I mean? Okay, great. So yeah, that is pretty much how we're dealing with things here. We are taking it 100%, 110%, literal. We are locking it down. Now, I have some friends who are still eating out and still going places. So for instance, I'm not going to name her, but I was talking to one of my friends who was like, yeah, I haven't been anywhere. And while we were on the phone, I could hear her car start and she's going places. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm going to the bank. I have to go to the bank. Okay, yeah, the bank could be considered essential. And then she went to get a coffee. And then, that night they ate out. And then like 2 days later, she was like, I haven't been anywhere. I've done anything. And I was like, what are you talking about? You have gone to get coffee and pizza and been to the bank. Like, you've been all over the place. But okay, I think that I don't know how the whole country is dealing with it, but I definitely think that the New Orleans area is a very laissez-faire, very like laid back. We socialize and party pretty much around the clock all year, like all year. So it's a little bit strange. I think so many people down here have made drastic changes to their schedule and have drastically reduced the amount of interaction, so they feel like their life has been so uprooted, but they're still doing a whole lot. Like when they see those people that they know at the grocery store, they're still hanging in their car window and having a chat. Like, and then they're like, oh, I haven't seen anybody, I talked to anybody for so long. But it's like, yes, you kind of did. Yes, you kind of have. I will say that recently I started seeing more people wear masks and facial covering and stuff like that. I think that's a great thing. I do want to put out a little PSA, like about reacting to people in masks. There's a lot of controversy about people who have the N95 mask already at their houses. Yes, if you have a whole box that you can donate, by all means donate them. But those are used, especially around here. And I said that, like, everybody around here has, like, they're working on cars, they're working in shops, they're doing stuff with animal feed or pest control. I can guarantee that almost every one of my neighbors is going to have 1 to 3 of those N95 masks that they use for every project they do, for the past 20 years. We have a couple that we got from my dad that are old, and like this part is starting to like almost dry rot and stuff. It's nothing you could donate. So I know that some people are like, did you see that person with a mask? Well, first of all, you never know what their pre-existing condition could be. You don't know if they are sick. You don't know. So I think it's always, even though it goes against my gut, it's always best to just kind of give it the benefit of the doubt. I highly doubt that person is disposing of that mask and getting a new one every time they go somewhere. Just putting it out there. Yeah, so that's how we're handling it. I haven't seen my sister. My sister and I are exchanging things. Like if I go to the grocery store and I'm able to get eggs, I'll bring her eggs if she needs them and stuff like that. But we haven't actually seen each other. We do drop-offs and we treat those items just the same way we would anything we got. Like it gets quarantined and stuff. In fact, the other day I was in my window, like standing on my couch looking out the window while my sister dropped stuff off. It almost made me cry. I was like, oh my God, this is such a fucking weird world. Like, it's insane. But that is how we are handling lockdown. And so pretty much we're just being in our house. Taking it very, very seriously. I hope everybody is. We for the safety of other people and ourselves, need to act like we have all been exposed and could all be silent carriers, because at this point, as the numbers come out and they start to say it could be 20%, it could be 50% of the people who come in contact with this and become infected and can pass it on won't show symptoms. The reality is that if we all act like nothing's going on, or like our right to be an American over like is more important than somebody else's right to be alive, then what will happen is we will overwhelm our hospital situations, and they will have to make difficult choices. They will have to decide who lives and who dies. And guess what? And I'm just going to be very real with you here. As a gay person, that's scary, because I absolutely know that prejudice and homophobia could be in the heart of the person who's making that choice. And as a white person who's incredibly aware that racism is still alive and active, I am aware that prejudice and racism could be at the heart of the person making that choice. And I don't want anybody to have to make that choice. And even if they could make it with a completely free conscience, with no pre-existing thoughts or judgment involved, I don't think it's fair to ask our nurses and our doctors to go against what they have been trained to do and to forsake one person for the hope of another. I just think that we all need to act like this is fucking serious, because this is fucking serious. Here's the part of the video where I ask you to do a like and invite you to subscribe. More than anything though, I would love for you to comment and let me know how you're dealing with it. Are things just business as usual? Are you okay? Like, what's going on where you're at? How different is life? Honestly, with everything I just described to you, when I go to the grocery store, I'm shocked at how normal things look. I'm like, whoa, I'm living in like a post-apocalyptic bunker at my house. And then I come out here and people are just, hey girl, yeah girl, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna get these plants. It's gonna be great. Like, what? I don't know. Supposedly New Orleans is getting better, and that's amazing. And they say that the social distancing that is happening is working. And all I can think is, if that is working, then imagine if we all really did a good job. It could be over.